Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our webinar today. We are going to get started right on time with Growing Grateful. Really excited to see everyone joining us today. I'm going to get right into it because I'm really excited, one, to hear what brought you to our webinar today, and I'm excited also to get into what this is all about. But before we do this, and before I introduce myself, I want to ask you a couple of questions. On a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being masterful and 1 being clueless, how would you rate your understanding and your personal practice of gratitude? If you want to chat in the chat box, that would be awesome, and I can see what your response is. And in the meantime, great, thank you, Jennifer. Jennifer says she's an 8. Oh, my slides are already going crazy. All right, great. 8 as well from Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. Oh gosh, I am going to do one thing before we move on. Okay, here we are. Okay, perfect. Okay, great. So good. We have some good heavy-duty gratitude practices in the house. Great. Good to hear that. So here we go. Here are my promises for our webinar today. Well, one is I'm going to share why gratitude is important in so many ways. And here's the thing. We talk about gratitude in a lot of ways. Saying thank you, showing our appreciation, being aware of what makes our life rich and what makes us have a life of plenty in so many ways, even when there are days and times where we don't feel like it. This webinar today, we're going to go into a lot more detail about gratitude and how it actually scientifically affects your day and your body and your relationships. So get kind of prepared that we're going to dig into some research as well. So this is going to not be your everyday look at gratitude, I hope. It's going to go a little bit deeper. So I hope you stick with me for the entire webinar. We're going to talk about ways to really deepen your gratitude practice so you can start to bring more of that into your life every day. And then at the very end, I'm going to invite you to a special group about practicing gratitude daily and to use gratitude as a means for bringing more magic into your life. It's a real deal. So hang on for that. Okay, so I am Sean Williams. If you don't know me already, I want to welcome you to our gratitude practice today. This is me and my family. I'm a mommy of 1, and that's my husband. And I obviously, that's just one of the highlights of my life is being a mother, and that's one of the things I'm most grateful for in my world and in my existence is family in general, and being a mother specifically. And then also I'm super grateful for that I have the privilege of being someone who can work for myself, who can really creatively imagine my own business. And that's what I'm doing with you today. Part of my business and my purpose for me is about elevating aliveness. And the way that I see that happening is through people tapping into having a life of having it all. And that means different things for different people. It doesn't mean, the biggest house, the most money. It could mean just all the little things that you're grateful for in your life as an access to really experiencing a life of having it all. So I hope that comes through with today's presentation and for future and ongoing offerings and webinars. So we're going to get into this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shut off my camera because I find that sometimes it can be distracting as I'm moving and I'm looking here and looking there. So I love to I'm going to shut off my camera just for a little while I go through the presentation. And at the end, I will come back and rejoin you. Feel free to please, chat into the chat box if you want to introduce yourself. If you want to just say where you're from, that would be awesome. But we'll get into, what is this gratitude practice all about, and how to tap into it a little bit more. So starting with the obvious, right, which is what is gratitude? Let's just start with that. This is my practice run, I guess. Still, every time I'm still like missing on some of my which way to go with the arrows on which slide to show next, but here we go. Okay. So what is gratitude? It might seem like a kind of a silly question. Again, we talked about, this is something that we talk about often, but, it's kind of good to take another look at it. It's an easy concept to misconstrue from time to time. So the Oxford English Dictionary defines gratitude as the quality of being thankful, a readiness to show appreciation for and to return the kindness. So it seems pretty straightforward, right? And it is, but where the confusion comes in for people is like where we have different understandings of what deserves or requires our gratitude. So the ability to express gratitude freely is something a significantly high level of people struggle with. And the unfortunate consequences of muddled belief systems and lack of a personal expression have led to gratitude sinking further down on the list of relationship priorities, with influencing factors including culture and upbringing, which is our conditioned beliefs, and life experiences and core values. It's understandable how, one person's definition of what elicits an expression of gratitude in any context will differ greatly from someone else's. It's also easy to dismiss missed opportunities of expressing thanks or performing acts of kindness, since today's world has unfortunately become almost too busy to assign much importance to them. But gratitude is so important. It's so important, in fact, that scientists now consider it more than just an action. Gratitude is now considered by science as an actual positive emotion, the effects and impacts of which no overall mental and physical health have been studied much more closely than just gratitude by itself. So throughout this presentation, I am going to be mentioning different studies, different science, again, investigations and reports. And at the end of this presentation, I will, give you a link to all that information if it's something that you're into. If you're into something like research and, kind of looking at sources, I will have that for you. So what's one thing in your life right now that you are grateful for? Go ahead and check that in and let's share. I shared what I was grateful for, which again is my family, being a mommy, being able to have my own business, which I do think is a privilege. A lot, many of us, do have to have multiple jobs these days. I am grateful for my creativity. And certainly the people and opportunities I have in my life. So what's one thing in your life right now that you are grateful for? So here's some science on gratitude. So, oh, great. I see some of the things you're grateful for are your faith and your family. Family, yes, big one is family. Oh, grateful for technology. Yes, yes, I was struggling a little bit with that. But right, grateful for technology that we can all get together like this, wherever we are, and still connect and communicate. And Jennifer says, I'm grateful for so many things, but mostly like 21-year-old son and faith. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for chatting in. You can continue to do that. So here's the science of gratitude. So the many different understandings, definitions, and expressions of gratitude make it difficult to measure on a scientific scale. Yet, neuroscientists have discovered ways to measure levels of the hormonal response and areas of the brain which are stimulated by enduring an act of gratitude. So this has allowed us a closer look at the psychological and emotional benefits of practicing gratitude, something which before may have seemed slightly intangible. Oxytocin is nicknamed the happiness hormone because of its association and release during sensations of happiness or intense satisfaction. It's produced by the hypothalamus and secreted by the pituitary gland, and also plays a crucial role in the childbirth process and helps with male reproduction. So completing an act of gratitude is just one of the more casual ways that oxytocin is released. I mean, imagine that. This is the hormone that's associated with giving childbirth, male reproduction, and you can access some of that through acts of gratitude. So another great thing to note about oxytocin is that it directly counteracts the fight or flight hormone, directly affecting and reducing stress levels. So the very nature of neuron responses in the brain means that it's through repetition and familiarity that the patterns associated with gratitude and oxytocin release become strengthened, forging lasting pathways for its transmission. As such, this enables us to have a more reliable baseline supply of oxytocin or any behaviorally associated hormone, which over time causes the gradual increase in overall contentment and happiness and lowers our stress. So there's a study about that. I'm going to tack that on to the end. It outlines a trial which tested the effects of enhanced levels of oxytocin on a group of adults to measure their effects on overall well-being, and the results you'll see are really amazing. So the physical response, number one, is energy. How many of us want more energy, right? Oh my God, we want to feel good, we want more energy, and we want good feeling energy, not hyper jittery energy, right? So another feel-good chemical which the brain releases during acts of gratitude is dopamine. Dopamine turns on our brain's learning centers and allows us to feel more energized, motivated, and content with our present situation. This in turn leads to heightened levels of concentration, which causes higher levels of productivity and thus increases overall work-related success and happiness. So are you starting to see how all of this is interrelated, right? So our energy levels are directly linked to the amount and quality of the sleep we get. And so the impact of gratitude on sleep quality should also be analyzed. This is awesome. If anyone here does have a gratitude practice and you practice your gratitude at night, you might relate to this. So a recent study found that in the moments before falling asleep, grateful people are less likely to think negative and worrying thoughts and more likely to think positive thoughts. The impact this has on overall quality and duration of sleep and subsequent energy, of course, the following day is significant, as negative thoughts are linked to disturbed sleep, dreams, and even lowered physical functioning and cortisol production during sleep time. So dopamine is also considered the most important chemical reaction in the body when it comes to initiating action. That means increases in dopamine levels occur when a surge of adrenaline makes you take action for the first time on a long-planned project. It's what makes you more likely to get up and do things. It's the brain saying, oh, do that again. Oh yeah, do that again. So it's also important to consider energy in terms of more than just how active we are on a daily basis. Everything we are and do is energy, right? So we simply manipulate this depending on what we want to achieve, where we are, and how we want to interact with people. Gratitude maximizes the value of our energy, and so it can produce an uplifting effect. Considering how we spend and use our energy is important if we are to assess ways to put it to better use through expressing gratitude and thanks. So where do you think you use up most of your energy? And also, can you see an opportunity to express gratitude as a means to taking that next big action you need to take on a project or something on your to-do list? Perhaps, that's a new practice. I want to be grateful for something before I look at my to-do list. And that's going to help me get into action. I'm going to be grateful for this, technology, this phone before I pick it up to make my next sales call, It's a great way to think about how to use gratitude in different ways. So let's talk about longevity. I'm very fascinated with this topic, so I want to talk more about that. But it's, the boost of positive energy that we get from practicing gratitude that might also cause, your act of gratitude to multiply and transform into a more positive day. The study that I have below, below at the end of the webinar, on positive psychology, observed how states of coherence associated with sustained states of gratitude cause DNA strands to unwind and lengthen, while fear, anxiety, frustration, and stress caused DNA to tighten, become shorter, and switch off many of its codes. So in the first case, the excess energy which is required to do the tightening and shortening of strands is not being used properly. And so additional energy needs to be used just to do more of your general practices. The lengthened strands of DNA correspond to the sensations of feeling more relaxed, releasing tensions, and has many scientific and energetic possibilities. There is an author and scientist named Penny Pierce, and she kind of proposes this in her book. It's called Frequency, the Power of Personal Vibration. This might cause your DNA to evolve beyond disease and aging as we know it. So I love this because I'm really into longevity and healthy longevity, and what are the things that we can do to live longer, live healthier. And in addition, and this is something I knew I've discovered through this, in addition to practicing gratitude as a means of longevity and kind of like improving the function of your DNA, there's things like meditation, of course. I've really just recently discovered a new supplement as well to help longevity, which I'm really excited about, which, if you're interested in something like that, you can ping me later and I can tell you about both of those things in addition to gratitude. But this is, it's a pretty big assumption, right? That gratitude can lengthen our life. That just blows my mind. And yet there is definitely some correspondence between lower levels of disease and heightened energy levels, which gratitude causes, that could contribute to overall longevity. And if you think about it, if you're practicing gratitude continuously all the time, then that's also lowering your stress levels. So it really does, make sense. Similarly, the impact our exposure to positive emotions has, such as gratitude, during your younger years also has an impact on longevity. So it all just goes together. So there are many benefits to utilizing gratitude. This is something in terms of therapies that might be interesting for mental and emotional disorders. When gratitude is consciously chosen above other less happiness-inducing habits, gratitude as a practice has extremely healing qualities that allow the practitioner to engage with the feelings of contentment, balance, and satisfaction in the moment. When done steadily over a period of time, this gratitude has been scientifically observed to positively impact these conditions. Obviously, it produces, and provides other health benefits as well, even with helping to boost recovery. So expressing gratitude for gifts, favors, or even just another person's presence can help increase attachment and encourage closeness. People who do not express gratitude, conversely, are sometimes resented by others, causing a downward spiral of negative and harmful emotions, and also distance and isolation. So the practice of selflessness, whether by nature or by intent to stop ruminating thought patterns that coincide with, bad feelings and bad emotional states, ultimately has the effect of taking that person from their, preoccupied, negative thoughts, all the stuff that's in your head, and into them getting present into the moment, or present into your physical body. So when you get present to your moment, into reality, that does a lot to help people get out of their head. And if you're human, like all of us are, we have a pitfall of getting stuck in our head and like negative spiral of thoughts from time to time. So gratitude and happiness. One really interesting thing about gratitude is that it doesn't just affect our immediate reality. It also has a capacity to impact our memories and past experiences. So this is not to say that gratitude can change the past, obviously, but rather that it has the capacity to change our perception of the past. That is powerful. You know, changing your perception of the past. Just think about it. Remembering something in a resentful manner, you conjure up feelings of hurt, anger, and can even, very often just slip into that mode of playing victim or whatever the situation was. And then, you've created a whole bunch of stories that you get wrapped up into, right? So by shifting our perception to understand the same situation with a different viewpoint, one of gratitude for the experience of those feelings, emotions, or the life lesson that was learned through that painful experience, we can automatically make peace with the issue and successfully use our newly gratified emotions and memories of that moment to move forward from a place of knowledge and learning. Inevitably, this newly found acceptance and acknowledgement of whatever situation makes it easier to let go. And by doing so, we can improve our levels of happiness. I just love that. I mean, this is like gratitude. I mean, so many layers, to this practice. So let's talk about relationships. I mean, gratitude in relationships, that is essential. It's essential, right? So this is a major area of study as well, which is involving, of course, the benefits of gratitude around, how it impacts our relationships with others, whether intimate or not. So it's not, it's not limited to just romantic relationships, but scientists have coined the term Losada ratio to measure the ratio of positive expressions, which is like encouragement and appreciation, to the number of negative expressions, for example, disapproval, sarcasm, cynicism, in married partners. In the study, it was found that the more satisfied and longer lasting marriages were those with a positivity ratio above 5.1. So that means that for every 5 positive expressions to 1 negative expression. So it shows that there is an impact on recurring positive affirmations and acts of genuine gratitude that can, that a positive impact that positive affirmations and acts of genuine gratitude can have on romantic relationships. That seems pretty obvious, right? Hello, we want to show our partners, how much we appreciate them. And I do think that goes a long way. In terms of general relationships, both positive and negative, social bonding, which occurs through most everyday interactions, it also has a capacity to improve, happiness and contentment in those relationships. And again, it kind of goes back to that oxytocin, right? When we're making connections with people, more oxytocin is released. So perceived partner responsiveness underlies relational intimacy and is associated with feeling understood, accepted, and cared for. So there was a study by Reese and Clark in 2004 as human intimacy. And they note that it's an important situational trigger for feeling gratitude upon receipt of a benefit, which in turn generally elicits a response from the receiving party to reciprocate similar gives. In simpler terms, it just means that the receipt of gratitude is a stimulant to give gratitude. As a result, in the receiver feeling more valued and appreciated. So we're talking about that in respect to romantic relationships, and then also just everyday relationships, friendships, relationships with your networking group, relationships with your client. I work with some of you may know, I work with wine, and gifting for wine with wine is pretty big. And one of the things we share in our have seen is that when you give, and you show gratitude to your clients, you develop more of a personal relationship with them. Giving and gifting makes business more personal. So, that says a lot about how you also are going to be, in terms of a business point of view, how can you create longer relationships, and more referral-based relationships with your clients as well. So emotional intelligence. This is a hugely important factor in establishing positive, healthy relationships, both with oneself and with others. Emotional intelligence is the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions, and also to be able to handle relationships in an empathetic and conscious way. When it comes to gratitude, emotional intelligence is key, as it helps us to be aware of when a relationship or a situation requires or could benefit from the introduction of gratitude or some other emotion. Like a child being bluntly honest about some aspect of his parents' private life in front of friends, he is not emotionally aware enough to realize the feeling of embarrassment this might cause for the parents. So this is a very basic example, of course, but it proves the point, right? As emotional intelligence stems much further than a child's ignorance, so it's obviously very basic. Once we reach adulthood, however, a lack of emotional intelligence can begin to cause problems in our relationships on both a work and private level, generally manifesting in high instances of miscommunication, misunderstanding, and a lack of ability to discuss or understand difficult emotions or situations. In Western society, this can largely be observed as the unwillingness to discuss pressing issues on account of the discomfort or upset they might cause. Instead of minimizing the issues, however, this contributes to their growth and quiet empowerment. Emotional intelligence really is huge. And I'm glad that we've kind of started to put more attention on this. But for gratitude to have a positive impact in this area, a person must first become aware of their emotional environment and how they interact with it. So having a baseline understanding of why and how feelings arise when they do, what habits have been learned or cultivated as a reaction to this or as a means of dealing with them, and knowing where change needs to or doesn't need to take place is all emotional intelligence. So the good news is that it's proven that increasing gratitude can contribute to overall heightened emotional intelligence, as it calls into question the baseline awareness of emotions and how they impact any given situation. So for example, asking, am I grateful or am I ungrateful, opens up the inner emotional dialogue, causing us to pause and assess our feelings honestly before acting and expressing. So again, another way to just be able to check in with yourself and develop your own emotional intelligence is to ask yourself, am I grateful? Am I being grateful in this moment? What else could I be grateful for? Is this opportunity, is this moment, is this transaction, a moment to express appreciation? And that will help you tune more into your own emotional intelligence and also help you connect more with the person on the other side. So gratitude and self-esteem, it's a funny interaction when someone thanks you for hard work, thoughtfulness, or effort, right? Sometimes you get uncomfortable. It's like you feel good because you feel your energy has been valued. They feel good because they have received help and or guidance in a certain way. They have also honestly expressed gratitude for something which has assisted them or enabled a level of comfort or happiness to be reached, which previously wasn't there, and you have thankfully accepted it. So it's really a double-sided coin. Everyone really benefits, and yet sometimes we get shy about it, right? But it's an opportunity to start stepping into your strength. And I don't want to say power, right? But I just want to say you stepping into yourself, being in tune with not, with who you are and what you provide, what you offer, and, your contribution each and every moment, whether that be a business dealing or a personal phone call, so it's really part of why gratitude is so effective. Self-esteem, happiness, and confidence are boosted. And in the majority of cases, there's a more positive internal and emotional environment created for everyone involved. In terms of those who suffer from low self-esteem, gratitude can directly combat this and cause higher levels of satisfaction and self-belief, where before that individual may have been spiraling into a dangerous, period of doubt for themselves. So again, giving, receiving, and accepting gratitude from others is also important. When you accept, also gratitude from others, it makes us directly focus on the positive rather than the negative. By expressing gratitude for fortune or positive elements of life, the focus is shifted from the negative, mentally damaging aspects, which might contribute to, the negative thoughts, negative spiraling, the doubts, the considerations. So again, accepting gratitude and appreciation when it comes in your way is also important. To mental strength, I want to go directly to mental strength and awareness. So have you ever felt overwhelmed at the prospect of plans changing last minute? Even if it's just the slightest little adjustment to schedule, it can sometimes be easy to lose tempers, to get frustrated, to get confused, to get, just anxious and have anxiety. And this may not apply to you, but it's actually real for people. A lot of people, if plans change, they get behind, or something like that, it can cause a real uptick in anxiety. So along with emotional intelligence and a resilience and awareness, gratitude also allows us to cultivate an ability to adapt to changing and challenging situations when they arise. By learning to cultivate an attitude of gratitude to life and the world in general, we can slowly start to become more aware of the pleasures and positive sides to almost all situations. It might sound like you're coming across as overly passive, but it's really favorable to getting distressed and when plans change. So having kind of a gratitude for what might be coming up next, what might be showing up, again, is there a lesson to be learned in this moment? So gratitude isn't just blind positivity and narrowing down or what you're grateful for in any given moment. You really get to extract the beauty in surroundings and circumstances and people and personalities and moments, no matter how small or irreverent it may seem, like a police car going down the street in the middle of me speaking. It's like, okay, I'm grateful that they're able to go and help someone immediately, right? As Ian Lawton states in a blog post, he says adaptability is key to change, and gratitude is key to adaptability, because you see the gift in every time and place, and that's really beautiful. As change is the one constant any of us have in life, I'm sure most of us can resonate with that. So I have a question for you at this moment. What circumstances have you had to adjust to that required gratitude? What's something that's come up maybe recently that was a change in your expectations of something, or with someone else, and you had to adjust in that moment? And maybe you didn't have gratitude at the moment, but maybe it's a moment where now you can see, okay, how could I apply gratitude in that moment, to bring more lightness to it? Thanks, Jennifer. Yes. Thank you for that comment, Jennifer, and sharing about your ex. So your attitude and productivity. So however irritating you may find the phrase attitude is everything, which it's true. It's kind of cliche, but I love it. Attitude is everything. It is so important if you're determined to cultivate more positive emotions and experiences in your life. Yes. The way we perceive a situation or set of challenges is ultimately the way things will manifest for us in our reality. Okay, now I know you guys can relate to that, right? The way we perceive a situation or set of challenges is ultimately the way things will manifest for us in our realities. I just said it again, I want you to take that in, right? Gratitude helps us focus on the positive elements and allows us the opportunity for growth. As Sean Anker discusses in his really funny TED Talk, the more we practice this mental shift from problem finder to the grateful experiencer, the easier it becomes. This is linked to the neurological processes which occur in the brain when a new idea or practice is formed. The neurotransmitters are redirected from their habitual path or patterns and are helped along a new path, the path of gratitude. The more we do this, the more familiar they become with the new path. And so the easier it becomes to instinctively go that way instead of returning down damaging paths practiced before. In terms of productivity, we all want more productivity. In terms of productivity, the ability to repattern our thought processes is so important to concentration and productivity levels, as it allows us to ensure we are in the right frame of mind in which to carry out tasks. This is also linked to emotional intelligence as to redirect the thoughts and emotions. We must first be aware of them and acknowledge their impact on our work. It's only then that positive changes can be implemented and carried out. So again, going back to how can you give gratitude in those moments when you need to be most productive? How can you take that moment and look at your list and see what you can be thankful for? Thank you, Alexander, for sharing about your frustration on the job and how, changing your perception and outlook can really positively affect that and being more flexible. Absolutely. Suppressing or neglecting to acknowledge emotions is a damaging habit to fall into, and this includes gratitude. The act of suppressing feelings and emotions automatically belittles their existence and forces us to function on a lower level of overall awareness, as the honest and authentic emotions get silenced or ignored. Whether directly or indirectly, this will impact the quality of your relationships and overall happiness. If it occurs over time, the suppressed or neglected emotions will find other ways of manifesting themselves into your life. And this can happen in a variety of extremely creative and crafty ways. Before you know it, there it is. Those emotions coming out in your body or in situations that come into your life. So when, you have emotions that are not processed, if they're not, and digested by the mind or the body, when we think of it in terms of almost like digesting food, it's got to go somewhere, right? If you don't digest it, it's got to go somewhere. So it may not immediately present itself in the form of one obvious emotion or another, but gradually over time, the suppressed feelings will find a way into your life. So an example of this would be maybe a father with a serious case of past trauma in his life that has not been dealt with or accepted. The hurt, confusion, and negative feelings which this memory may evoke in him are awakened whenever anger or other difficult emotions emerge in his everyday life, such as his kids doing something wrong, quote unquote wrong, a stressful workday, or other issues, which cause him to become irrationally angry and act in potentially damaging ways. But when that father can get in tune with the upset, that past emotion, and just even identify it, that can make a world of change, right? And how that father is going to approach his kids or deal with his partner at the end of the day. So there are ways to help the stuck energy generated by suppressed emotions to move again. Things like getting active, moving your body. This could be as simple as doing a single push-up, doing a series of jumping jacks, having a dance party in your house. You can do something like journaling, talking with someone close to you, taking a walk outside, all of these things have a real positive impact and move your energy positively. Showing gratitude and practicing every morning to start your day the right way is one of the most effective ways. So putting into practice, again, like your morning, what you plan to be grateful for that morning, that day, is a way you can approach that. So gratitude in our natural inclination to practice it is hugely influenced by conditioned beliefs. The embodied beliefs, attitudes, and practices we unconsciously exhibit, which occur as a direct result of the environment, culture, and social situation which we are brought up in. Any norms which are associated directly with a social group, such as family, peers, school environment, or another form of formal or informal education, are usually the most impactful on young children. Given that between the ages of 0 and 6 is when a child's ability to absorb and digest information and experience their surroundings is at its highest, it follows that the environment we are exposed to during this critical stage of our development will have an impact on our core values and belief system. Enter gratitude. Yes, gratitude again. If, for example, a child raised in a wealthy family was brought up not needing to say please or thank you for any casual interactions in the home, it's more likely that he or she will have issues expressing and understanding gratitude as they get older. Whereas a child brought up in a society where giving thanks and gratitude are cultural norms and even practiced religiously will more than likely feel at ease with expressing themselves in this way, and as such may cultivate stronger, lasting relationships. Conditional beliefs also elicit conditional responses. Responding in a certain way to external events, which may or may not be rational, can also be problematic to gratitude expression. Over time, as the conditioned person becomes slowly more self-aware and able to differentiate between his or her patterns and the realities of how best to act or react in certain situations, it slowly becomes easier to rectify any irrational beliefs. Gratitude is one of the easiest places to start. It's so important to just start with gratitude and being grateful. And, it sounds sometimes it seems odd to say, okay, how can someone not know when to show gratitude, right? But, people are brought up in various ways. And if they're not, around gratitude, if they don't see it expressed, they're not going to learn that. So if you're someone, and I know you are because you're on this call and we're on this webinar, you're someone who's interested in gratitude. It is by our show of gratitude and appreciation to others that others will feel this openness to show more gratitude and appreciation in their lives, to people in their lives and situations that come up in their lives. And raising grateful kids, essential. So what we've already discussed about gratitude thus far suggests that, yes, gratitude can be cultivated and introduced into our lives in its absence. But wouldn't it be easier if we taught our kids the value of it from the beginning? Right? And I'm working on this now as a mommy of a 3-year-old. We have something called a gratitude globe. I wish I had it right in front of me, but we are putting a little pebble into a little jar, which is shaped like a circle, to say something we're thankful for every day. He's 3, so, it's a practice. My question to him sometimes is just, what did you like most about your day? And so that is one of the ways to try to stimulate more gratitude for him. But the facts are that gratitude is associated with a higher level of happiness and peace in kids, while also contributing largely to overall positive youth development. This directly corresponds to positive familial relationships and greater understanding of peer groups. And it's not difficult to see the potential benefits this could have on society as a whole. Introducing kids to practicing gratitude from a young age will help cultivate future generations of more self-aware adults with the ability to create and maintain stronger, more fulfilling relationships. Various kinds of gratitude practices also impact different areas of youth development, such as moral gratitude and life orientation gratitude. and just other kinds of gratitude. I mean, it goes on and on. The potential for young people in particular to use gratitude as a means of contributing to society and instigating higher levels of positivity and motivation among their peer groups is really astounding. Using social integration as a measure alongside gratitude, there's a study that shows that being grateful goes beyond young people simply having good manners. It is a deeply ingrained means of communication and expression, which benefits the individuals as well as society as a whole. I mean, honestly, right? I think it could just be really, it's just really important. I think we all know that. So gratitude practices for kids. So there are some real straightforward ways to start teaching kids the value of expressing gratitude. First, it's important to remember that children learn by example. So again, that means that we're the ones showing the way. One of the things that my mom did, and to be honest, I'm still working on this, is she's always writing thank you cards, and that's something that's really ingrained in me, to show gratitude in that way and to take the time out to do that. One of the things I just mentioned is sharing gratitude, something you're thankful for around the table. That's a real simple practice that you can do. Generating an attitude of giving can be done by, again, like the thank you cards, and having them become an active participant in the process of giving thanks. Thanking the child when they do something that is, something you want to positively reinforce, right? By, completing a task or doing something without being asked. Another simple action which can be taken is to openly thank friends and family in the presence of your children, or a niece or nephew or cousins. And then afterward, to explain to the child why you did that act of appreciation. Again, this is really more effective than merely telling the child to thank someone or to give them a hug and a kiss. Children want to know why things happen, why this, why that, why is this required of me? So making sure that you explain, why you did the thing that you did is going to go a long way in ingraining that action for them in the future. So I hope that, we're doing a lot, I know. It's just like so crazy. Gratitude just goes on and on. It's so deep. There's so many areas to look at. So, now we're into the segment of how to really apply. We've gotten the background of why gratitude is so important. So now we're looking at, how to have more gratitude practice in your day. So as the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence suggests, gratitude shouldn't merely be a passing thought or observation, but rather a regular practice, much like yoga or meditation. So there are many ways you can practice, and these methods will vary depending on your lifestyle factors and environment. Perhaps the most effective and accessible way to start a gratitude practice is simply to begin keeping a gratitude journal. Hello, Oprah, right? Writing down our beliefs and thoughts has a way of cementing them like nothing else does. And by giving our thoughts and emotions time to fully manifest and process their way through our mind and our body, we are fully allowing them to exist in the present moment. And as such, we're more likely to be accepting of them and to keep noticing them. Solidifying beliefs and teasing out truths and meaning behind them starts from a place of certainty, which we can write and begin to keep track of with a daily journaling and gratitude practice. And it's, once you start to have this practice and you see it, you write it down, you're certain of, what you have to be grateful for in your life and the beauty and benefits and gifts that you have in your life. So for anyone wondering how to start a journaling practice, it's super straightforward. You get a journal, a pen, you open it up, you start writing. Try starting with something simple like, 10 minutes a day, or writing down 3 things a day that you're grateful for. But you can keep it super simple and super accessible for you and your schedule. So, you probably have heard a lot about people are doing 30-day gratitude challenges and 30 days of gratitude. In fact, Jennifer Bishop on this call is doing a lot of gratitude. I've seen a lot of her social media lately, and every day she's expressing something she's grateful for. So I love it, Jennifer. It inspires me every day when I get to see her posts. So you can try something like that. You can, start to invite people into your practice, invite them to partner with you on it. And again, you can do something as simple as, one thing you're grateful for the day, or 3 things you're grateful for the day, or when you start your day, the one thing you want to be grateful for by the end of the day, and you can see that come forward in your life. Something I'm going to be doing later this month is a 28-day challenge for The Magic, which is the book based on Rhonda Byrne, who is the author of The Secret. So I'll have a link for you to join that Facebook group if you want to do that. But it's 28 days of expressing gratitude and deepening your gratitude practice through some actual exercises that we'll do. So voicing, I like this too, because again, going back, sometimes people have difficulty showing gratitude. So voicing our gratitude isn't as straightforward as acknowledging it. As we've already discussed, many people struggle to express emotions in the simplest of circumstances, let alone recognizing the often vulnerability-laden sensation of gratitude. Seriously, right? It kind of causes you to be vulnerable sometimes. While we might be able to rationally and intellectually see how we should be grateful for our set of circumstances, there is a difference between this and allowing ourselves to take down the walls we build around the importance of having control and certainty, and just appreciate things as they are. This means appreciating where we are without constantly striving to plan or to think of the next task, the next thing to change, or worse, just comparing ourselves. It's about letting go sometimes. Self-confidence is not necessarily a requirement to practice gratitude, and yet it is a quality which is strengthened through the practice. By accessing the genuine affection that resides within us all for the blessings and positive things in life, we are automatically connecting to a part of us that is timeless and authentic, regardless of the circumstances. It's this authentic self which plays a vital part in our ability to let go of conditioned beliefs and preconceived ideas about what we should or shouldn't feel, or what we should and shouldn't feel grateful for. So speaking up about our true opinions and authentic beliefs then comes much easier, and gradually will lead to a surge in self-confidence. And again, being grateful that you have the moment to speak up, to share. So another practice and way to tap into gratitude is through meditation. Gratitude meditation involves focusing all awareness on the person, thing, or event for which the person is grateful, and sending all energy and awareness there instead of letting it be leaked out elsewhere in life, and instead of letting also it harbor on yourself. It's an age-old practice which has gotten lost in our focus of personal gain and progression. So really, having a gratitude practice can involve, meditation where you just kind of give thanks and appreciation for one single area of your life at a time. And almost even, you're welcome to even almost create a mantra around what you are appreciating during your meditation. So try, one of these kind of meditations, and next time you sit down for a moment of quiet and introspection, when you're feeling anxious or stressed or uneasy, and start to hone in on, what am I grateful for? What am I grateful for? What am I grateful for? When you start to feel yourself not having control of the situation or moment or person, obviously, go back to what you're grateful for. And a gratitude meditation doesn't have to look like this woman sitting here. It could look like, again, just taking a breath and saying, I'm grateful for this. Looking around you. This is a wonderful practice by Abraham Hicks, if you're familiar with them, which is, the rampage of appreciation. And we just look around at everything around you, right in front of you. Say, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for this light that I have, that I can see the page in front of me. I'm so grateful for this table that I'm sitting at that allows me to write. I'm so grateful for this computer that I'm on that allows me to connect or to look up resources. So, just kind of rampage of appreciation can move you from any emotion to one that is powerful and positive. And there are a lot of other meditation resources. Deepak Chopra does something, and there's a lot of meditation resources on YouTube. So gratitude in the workplace, also big place to have some gratitude. How can you, tap into your gratitude for the people you partner with and team up with, employees, business partners. So we know from research that you can use gratitude as a way to retain and retrain your brain and boost effectiveness and happiness. In research done by Sean Inker of Feel Good Inc., the same guy from before I mentioned, 400 professionals committed to expressing 3 gratitudes a day, as well as take other positive measures. And after doing so for 2 weeks, their energy levels increased by 12% and their stress decreased by 20%, which positively contributed to meeting their goals and having better performance. So you don't really, you can start that immediately. If you go to an office every day, and I love, Alexandra, you're speaking about, what's going on with you at your job. Maybe consider having a practice of 3 gratitudes a day, with the people you work with, all of those things, situations, and see what kind of effects you actually have. So with decision making, it's difficult. Difficulty making and sticking to a decision is commonly observed symptom of anxiety and depression. Having the ability to be thankful for whatever situation arises after you make the choice is an example of ongoing great gratitude practice. All of a sudden, potential worries and uncertain outcomes are released from our need to control or dictate them. And we can easily proceed with our decision in the knowledge that, yes, we cannot control or imagine every potential outcome. We can take ourselves through circles, and we still will not know 100% what the outcome will be. But we can choose to be grateful for whatever does arise as a result of our actions. And by choosing this, we are ultimately choosing less anxiety, less stress, and are also inviting more enjoyment and natural happiness into our lives. So we want to have more happiness in our schools. I love that. Singing, dancing, I think take a note from schools, right? Invite more play into your life. So with that, we covered so much. There's so much to go over. There's so many layers, as I said, about gratitude, how to express it, how to experience it, what the impacts are of it. So how do you feel? What are some, maybe look and see, what are some new gratitude practices you can put into place? Or what are some gratitude practices that you already have in place that you want to explore further? And ask, look, I'd love to know, what's one thing that motivates you to be more, to have more gratitude and bring more gratitude into your daily life? And as I mentioned before, I am going to be doing this. Yay. I am back. I know there's so much to talk about. So I love that, being present to where I am at. Thank you, Jennifer. Exactly. So as I mentioned before, if you're interested in something like this, I just automatically invite you to our 28-day challenge, Unleash the Magic in Our Lives through in-depth daily gratitude practice. The exercises in this book are really interesting and have you look at what you're grateful for in your life in so many areas where we take it for granted. And I have done part of this book before. I've completed the whole thing. I have worked with other people who have done it. I've partnered with people who were doing it, and we were doing it together. And time and time again, the results that people have from this 28-day practice, they are magical. Like what people get to bring into their lives between relationships, more organization in their home, money, satisfaction, fulfillment, just all those things. So I am excited. So I'm excited. I'm kind of fearful, right? Because there's so much going on in my life. I'm sure you have so much going on in your life. To take on another thing might seem like crazy, but I'm going to invite you anyway to think about how much, knowing everything we know now about gratitude and how it can impact our bodies, our health, and our perceptions, and our outlets. Join and see what you can do and participate in this, in the magic, and see what kind of magic comes into your life. So also we have Michelle is going to, I really like the thought about looking at situations in a new way. Great. And Alexandria is going to implement gratitude practices and having peaceful sleep. Excellent. If there are any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm available for that, of course. And I just really want to thank you all for, I have a lot of resources too. I told you I would send those out. If you're interested, you can reach out to me and I can send you a whole list of resources that I use to put this together and have been referencing throughout the project. But I want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much for spending this hour with me today. I really and truly appreciate your time, your presence, and your participation, because it's really with you here that I get to, share and light up in your presence. And so I am really present to that. And I said present like 4 times, and I'm okay with that, right? So thank you again. If you want to continue to have more workshops and webinars coming up, I have a little connect page at the bottom, but I will stay in touch with you for sure. And again, please reach out to me if you have any questions, and I thank you. All right. Thank you all. See you next time. All right. Cheers. Bye-bye.